The Royals own me. Harry owes me. Meghan owes me. What I've been through, I should be rewarded for. Paper seemed to want to make me look like a dumb, fat slob. I got approached by a guy named Jeff Rayner, who spoke to me and said, "I can change your image," he said. The idea was that these would all be candid shots, discreet, no one would know they were posed or anything. It would be just me doing my routine daily. I was feeling that this was very hokey and hammy, but he keeps saying, "You gotta trust me."
Did Meghan Markle's own father just commit the ultimate betrayal? Social media is on fire with claims that Thomas Markle leaked his daughter's private medical records. We're talking alleged fertility treatments, surgeries, even a hysterectomy, and the internet is eating it up. But is any of it true? Where did these wild details come from? Could Thomas really have access to something so sensitive? Or are we watching yet another social media circus spiral out of control? The story is spreading fast. Videos, comment threads, conspiracy theories, and no one can agree on what's real. Is this the final blow in a famously fractured relationship? Or is Thomas Markle being dragged into a rumor he never started? Today, we're diving deep into the claims, the timeline, and the silence from the people who are usually so quick to react. Because if there's one thing we've learned about the Markle family, it's that the truth is never simple. The Markle family fracture. To understand why these medical record allegations have gained so much traction, we need to step back and examine the wreckage of what was once a close father-daughter relationship. Thomas Markle was once the proud father who worked in television lighting, scraping together money to send his daughter to private school and Northwestern University. He was there for school plays at Immaculate Heart High School, helping with lighting for Meghan's performances. By all accounts, they shared a close bond during her formative years, especially after Meghan moved in with him full-time when she was 9 years old, as her mother Doria pursued her career. Those early years painted a picture of a devoted single father doing his best to provide opportunities for his ambitious daughter. Thomas would later recount in interviews how he worked multiple jobs to afford Meghan's private education, understanding even then that she had exceptional potential. He supported her acting aspirations, using his industry connections to help her understand the technical side of television production. Friends from that era described their relationship as a warm relationship, with Thomas taking genuine pride in Meghan's achievements and academic success. The financial sacrifices were significant for a lighting technician working in Hollywood's often unpredictable industry. Thomas took on extra projects, worked longer hours, and prioritized Meghan's education. When she was accepted to Northwestern University, one of the country's most prestigious institutions, he found ways to help with the substantial tuition costs. During her college years, their relationship maintained its closeness despite the distance. Thomas would visit when possible, and Meghan would return to Los Angeles during breaks. She would later credit him with instilling her work ethic and teaching her the value of persistence in a competitive industry. Her early acting roles, including small parts and commercial work, often came with his encouragement and practical support. But fame has a way of complicating even the strongest relationships. And when Meghan's star began to rise, when she got her career-boosting role in Suits, and eventually her romance with Prince Harry, the family dynamic began to shift. The first major crack appeared in the lead-up to the royal wedding on May 2018, when Thomas was supposed to walk his daughter down the aisle at St. George's Chapel. Instead of a fairy tale moment, the world witnessed a series of embarrassing revelations. Thomas had secretly staged paparazzi photographs for money, a decision that blindsided Meghan and provided tabloid newspapers with weeks of fodder. The Guardian reported on May 15, 2018, that these staged photos had emerged just days before the wedding, forcing Thomas to withdraw from the ceremony entirely after suffering a heart attack. The man who should have been proudly escorting his daughter to marry a prince was instead at the center of a media scandal. The staged photographs were more than just a poor decision. They revealed a fundamental misunderstanding of the media machine surrounding the royal family. Thomas later claimed he was trying to improve his image after unflattering paparazzi photos had been published. But the collaboration with photographers backfired spectacularly. The images, which showed him reading about his daughter and Harry in what was meant to appear as candid moments, were quickly exposed as fabricated. The heart attack that prevented Thomas from attending the wedding added another layer of tragedy to an already complicated situation. Medical experts later suggested that the stress of the media attention and the fallout from the staged photos may have contributed to his cardiac episode. The timing couldn't have been worse, occurring just days before what should have been one of the proudest moments of his life. What followed was a pattern of public statements and media appearances that seemed designed to keep Thomas in the headlines. Rather than allowing the situation to cool down, he began giving interviews to various outlets, sharing private details about his relationship with Meghan and often contradicting himself in the process. Each appearance seemed to drive the wedge deeper between father and daughter. The media interviews became increasingly problematic as Thomas appeared to struggle with the boundary between public interest and private family matters. He would share details about conversations with Meghan, speculate about her relationship with Harry, and offer opinions about royal family dynamics that went far beyond his actual knowledge or involvement. Friends who knew Thomas before this period described a man who seemed overwhelmed by the sudden attention and perhaps addicted to the validation that came with being sought after by journalists. The relationship reached a new low in 2019 when Meghan had written him a private, handwritten letter pleading with him to stop speaking to the media and expressing her pain over their fractured relationship. Thomas went ahead and shared portions of this letter with the Mail on Sunday, turning his daughter's private words into front-page news. The letter, as reported by various outlets, contained Meghan's regrets about their relationship. She wrote about feeling hurt and confused by his public statements, questioning why he continued to speak to tabloids when she had tried to reach out privately. The handwritten nature of the letter added an additional layer of intimacy to what should have remained a private family communication. The decision to publish portions of this letter represented perhaps the most significant breach of trust in their relationship. Legal experts later noted that the letter clearly wasn't intended for public consumption, and that sharing it with media outlets crossed ethical and potentially legal boundaries. The selective editing of the letter's contents, showing only portions that cast Meghan in a potentially negative light while omitting context, further complicated the situation. Meghan's response to the letter being published was anything but subtle. She sued the Mail on Sunday for invasion of privacy, launching a legal battle that would stretch over several years. The Guardian reported on November 11, 2021, that she ultimately won the case, with the court ruling that the publication of her private letter was manifestly excessive and unlawful. The legal victory, while satisfying from a privacy standpoint, came at enormous personal and financial cost. The court proceedings required Meghan to relive private family conflicts in public, with details of her relationship with Thomas being scrutinized by lawyers, judges, and ultimately, the public. The case established important precedents for privacy protection, but it also meant that the family rift was extensively documented in legal proceedings that became public record. But even a legal victory couldn't repair the damage to the father-daughter relationship. By 2025, Thomas had relocated from Mexico to the Philippines, where, according to recent reports, he's been struggling with health issues and financial difficulties. The man who once walked red carpets at Hollywood events now lives thousands of miles away from his daughter and has never met his grandchildren, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. The geographical distance seems to mirror the emotional gulf that has developed between father and daughter. Thomas's move to the Philippines, citing financial reasons and seeking a lower cost of living, placed him even further from any possibility of reconciliation. The health issues he's reportedly facing, including ongoing cardiac problems, add another layer of complexity to an already tragic family situation. The transformation from proud father to estranged family member seeking media attention represents one of the most public family breakdowns in recent memory. The tragedy lies not just in the damaged relationship, but in how public consumption of their private conflicts has made reconciliation nearly impossible, with every potential olive branch analyzed and critiqued by millions of strangers. The alleged leak. In the swirling ecosystem of social media, where rumors can travel faster than facts, a new chapter in the Markle family saga began gaining momentum in early 2025. Across TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook, posts began appearing with sensational headlines claiming that Thomas Markle had finally crossed the ultimate line, leaking his daughter's private medical records. The allegations were as specific as they were shocking. Various posts claimed that Thomas had revealed details about Meghan's fertility struggles, with some suggesting he had disclosed information about a hysterectomy allegedly performed when she was 19 years old. Other versions of the story claimed he had exposed details about fertility treatments or other intimate health procedures. A TikTok video from July 2025 specifically alleged that Thomas had revealed information about Meghan's infertility struggles, while YouTube videos from around the same time went even further, claiming to have details about surgical procedures and medical conditions. What made these allegations particularly potent in the social media environment was their ability to connect pieces of public information into a seemingly coherent narrative. Users began linking these alleged medical revelations to previously reported details about Meghan's pregnancies, her public statements about family planning, and even her advocacy for various women's health causes. The result was an elaborate conspiracy theory that seemed to explain previously unexplained aspects of her public persona. The echo chamber effect of social media amplified these claims exponentially. Users who were already critical of Meghan found the allegations consistent with their existing beliefs about her character, while those who followed royal family content were drawn to what appeared to be explosive new information. The posts spread through networks of like-minded users, with each sharing and commenting session adding credibility through repetition. The timing of these allegations also seemed significant to those sharing them. They emerged during a period when Meghan was receiving renewed media attention for her Netflix series With Love, Meghan, and various business ventures. For those already skeptical of the Duchess of Sussex, the medical record claims seemed to fit into broader narratives about authenticity and public persona. The posts spread rapidly through the interconnected world of royal-watching social media accounts, each share and comment amplifying the original claims. Comment sections filled with reactions ranging from outrage at the alleged privacy violation to skepticism about the claims themselves. Some users expressed sympathy for Meghan, noting that if true, such a leak would represent an unthinkable betrayal by a parent. Others questioned the veracity of the claims, pointing out the lack of credible sources or official confirmation. But as these claims circulated and gained traction, a critical question remained largely unasked in the rush to share and comment. Where was the actual evidence? The posts making these explosive allegations relied heavily on dramatic language and emotional appeals. But when it came to substantiating their claims with credible sources or official documentation, they came up remarkably short. The medical records allegedly leaked by Thomas Markle were never actually produced or verified by any credible news organization. No major newspaper, television network, or established royal correspondent reported on or confirmed these claims. The entire narrative seemed to exist primarily in the realm of social media speculation, fed by anonymous posts and unverified accounts. The absence of actual documentation became increasingly obvious as the claims continued to circulate. Despite the alleged explosive nature of these medical revelations, no authenticated documents, medical records, or official statements ever materialized to support the allegations. This lack of concrete evidence should have served as a red flag for careful consumers of information. But the fast-paced nature of social media often discourages the kind of careful verification that such claims require. When we step back from the emotional intensity of social media and apply basic journalistic standards to these medical record allegations, the story begins to crumble under scrutiny. The first and most fundamental problem with claims that Thomas Markle leaked Meghan's medical records is a simple question of access. How would he have obtained these documents in the first place? Medical privacy laws exist for precisely this reason, and as one Quora respondent noted, Mr. Markle does not have access to Meghan's medical files. She is an adult and isn't listed on his insurance, nor would she grant him access to files. This basic reality creates an immediate credibility problem for the entire narrative. Meghan is a 39-year-old woman who has been financially independent from her father for decades. She has her own insurance, her own medical team, and complete control over who can access her health information. The legal framework protecting medical privacy, particularly in the United States, where Meghan received most of her medical care before moving to the UK, is robust and strictly enforced. The Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, commonly known as HIPAA, creates severe penalties for unauthorized disclosure of medical information. For Thomas to have accessed and leaked his adult daughter's medical records would require either her explicit consent, which seems highly unlikely given their estranged relationship, or criminal behavior by medical professionals, which would have triggered investigations and legal consequences. The HIPAA framework specifically addresses the kinds of scenarios that would be necessary for Thomas to have gained access to comprehensive medical records spanning decades of his daughter's life. Healthcare providers face significant financial penalties and potential criminal charges for unauthorized disclosure of protected health information. The idea that multiple medical professionals would risk their careers and legal standing to provide Thomas with his estranged daughter's medical records stretches credibility beyond reasonable limits. Furthermore, the practical logistics of obtaining such records would be enormously complex. Medical information is typically scattered across multiple providers, facilities, and time periods. Even patients themselves often have difficulty obtaining complete records of their own medical history. The suggestion that Thomas could have assembled comprehensive medical files covering alleged procedures from Meghan's teenage years through her adult life would require an elaborate conspiracy involving numerous healthcare providers across different states and, potentially, different countries. Even more telling is the complete absence of these claims from legitimate news organizations. When we search for coverage of this alleged medical record leak from established news outlets, we find nothing. The BBC, CNN, The Guardian, The New York Times, and other major news organizations that regularly cover royal family news have published no stories about Thomas Markle leaking medical records. This silence is particularly significant given that these same outlets extensively covered previous controversies involving Thomas, including the staged paparazzi photos and the leaked letter to the Mail on Sunday. The established media's silence isn't accidental or indicative of any kind of cover-up. Professional news organizations have extensive verification processes specifically designed to prevent the publication of unsubstantiated claims, particularly those involving sensitive personal information like medical records. Before publishing stories about private medical information, reputable outlets would require multiple independent sources, documentation, and legal review to ensure they weren't violating privacy laws or publishing false information. If Thomas Markle had actually obtained and leaked his daughter's medical records, it would represent a major news story with significant legal implications. News organizations would be racing to verify the claims, legal experts would be commenting on the privacy violations, and there would likely be official responses from Meghan's representatives or law enforcement agencies. Instead, we have complete silence from the legitimate press, and a story that exists only in the realm of social media speculation. The newsworthiness of such a story would be undeniable. A parent leaking their adult child's medical records would represent an unprecedented breach of family trust and medical privacy, particularly when that child is a member of the royal family. The legal ramifications alone would generate extensive coverage, with healthcare privacy experts, legal scholars, and royal commentators all weighing in on the implications. Also, the specificity of the medical claims being made actually works against their credibility. The posts circulating on social media don't just claim that Thomas made vague statements about Meghan's health. They include detailed allegations about specific procedures, dates, and conditions. This level of detail would require access to comprehensive medical files spanning many years, something that would be virtually impossible for an estranged father to obtain legally. The detailed nature of the claims also raises questions about how such specific information could have been obtained and verified. Medical records are highly technical documents that require professional interpretation. The suggestion that Thomas could not only access but also accurately interpret and selectively leak specific details from complex medical files strains credibility further. Perhaps most importantly, Meghan and Harry's legal team, which has been notably aggressive in pursuing privacy violations and false claims, has shown no signs of responding to these medical record allegations. Given their track record of swift legal action against media outlets that publish false or invasive content, their silence suggests that there may simply be nothing credible to respond to. The Sussex legal strategy has been characterized by rapid response to genuine threats to their privacy and reputation. They've successfully pursued cases against multiple publications, secured substantial damages and retractions, and established clear boundaries around what kinds of invasion they will tolerate. If credible medical record leaks had occurred, their legal response would likely be immediate and decisive. The absence of any legal action, official response, or mainstream media coverage, combined with the fundamental implausibility of Thomas having access to comprehensive medical records, creates a picture of claims that are more likely to be fabrications than factual revelations. In the complex ecosystem of royal reporting, few stories escape the attention of the established network of royal correspondents, historians, and commentators who make their living analyzing every aspect of the British royal family's public and private lives. These experts, many with decades of experience and carefully cultivated sources, typically weigh in on significant developments involving the Sussexes, offering analysis, context, and often conflicting interpretations of events. The royal reporting establishment includes both sympathetic and critical voices, spanning the spectrum from supportive coverage to harsh criticism. This diversity means that any genuine scandal or significant development typically generates commentary from multiple perspectives, with different experts offering varying interpretations of the same events. The absence of any expert commentary on the alleged medical record leak is therefore particularly noteworthy. Royal author Hugo Vickers, for example, was quoted in an Express article from June 24, 2025, offering speculation about why Meghan never introduced Harry to Thomas before their engagement, suggesting it might have been due to embarrassment about his behavior. But even Vickers, who has been willing to discuss other aspects of the Thomas-Meghan relationship, has made no public statements about any alleged medical record leak. Other prominent royal commentators, including those who have been critical of Meghan and Harry's decisions, have similarly remained silent on these specific allegations. Piers Morgan, who has been notably critical of the Sussexes in various media appearances, has not referenced any medical record leaks in his commentary. Royal biographer Tom Bower, author of Revenge, Meghan, Harry, and the War Between the Windsors, has not incorporated these claims into his criticism of the couple. The established royal press corps, including correspondents for major British newspapers who have covered the family for years, have also refrained from reporting on or analyzing these claims. These journalists, who have extensive source networks within royal circles and have broken numerous exclusives about the family, apparently don't consider the medical record allegations worthy of professional attention. Even Thomas Markle's own public statements in 2025 don't align with the medical record leak narrative. When he has given interviews or made public comments, they've focused on other grievances. Fox News reported on March 10, 2025, that Thomas criticized Meghan's Netflix series With Love, Meghan, calling it inauthentic. He's also made comments about her decision to use Sussex as her surname rather than Markle. But there's no record of him making statements that could be construed as revealing medical information or claiming to have access to health records. Thomas's actual documented statements in recent interviews have focused primarily on his continued estrangement from Meghan and his disappointment at not having met his grandchildren. He's expressed frustration with the ongoing family rift and made various appeals for reconciliation. But these statements bear no resemblance to the explosive medical revelations alleged in social media posts. The pattern of Thomas's actual media appearances suggests someone who is primarily focused on restoring his relationship with his daughter and gaining access to his grandchildren, rather than someone engaged in deliberately destructive behavior like leaking medical records. While his past actions, including the staged photographs and leaked letter, demonstrated poor judgment, they were seemingly motivated by a desire for positive attention rather than malicious intent to harm his daughter. This disconnect between what social media claims Thomas has said and what he's actually documented as having said in legitimate news outlets is telling. If he had indeed made shocking revelations about Meghan's medical history, those statements would presumably have been captured by the journalists who regularly interview him or monitor his public appearances. The absence of such documented statements, combined with the lack of verification from established news sources, suggests that the medical record claims exist primarily in the realm of social media fabrication rather than actual quotes or leaked information from Thomas himself. The expert's silence serves as a kind of fact-check by omission, indicating that those who make their living analyzing royal family developments have found nothing in these claims worth their professional attention or reputational risk. When even the most aggressive royal commentators avoid discussing specific allegations, it typically indicates that those claims lack sufficient credibility to warrant professional engagement. Medical information occupies a special category of privacy protection for good reason. Health records contain our most vulnerable moments, our deepest fears, and our most intimate physical realities. They document times when we're at our weakest, seeking help, making difficult decisions about our bodies and our futures. The idea that such information could be weaponized by a family member for public consumption represents a form of violation that goes beyond typical celebrity gossip into something fundamentally dehumanizing. The psychological impact of having private medical information exposed, even falsely, cannot be underestimated. For individuals already living under intense public scrutiny, the suggestion that their most intimate health decisions might become fodder for public consumption adds an additional layer of stress and vulnerability. The knowledge that any medical procedure, any health challenge, any private struggle might potentially be weaponized against them, in the court of public opinion, creates an environment where seeking necessary medical care becomes fraught with additional anxiety. For Meghan and Harry, who stepped back from royal duties in part to escape the invasive media attention that was affecting their mental health, these latest allegations represent a reminder that geographical distance and institutional separation provide limited protection against digital harassment. Living in California hasn't shielded them from having intimate aspects of their lives subjected to public speculation and false claims. The couple's previous statements about the impact of media scrutiny on their mental health take on additional significance in this context. Harry's comments about not wanting history to repeat itself, referencing his mother's experience with invasive media coverage, seem particularly relevant when considering how false medical claims can spread unchecked across digital platforms. After critically examining the evidence, analyzing the sources, and considering the broader context, the claims that Thomas Markle leaked Meghan's medical records appear to be exactly what they seem to be on closer inspection. Unsubstantiated allegations circulating in the digital rumor mill without credible foundation. The problems with these claims are numerous and significant. Thomas Markle would have no legal means of accessing his adult daughter's comprehensive medical records. No credible news organization has reported on or verified these allegations. Royal experts and legal commentators have remained notably silent about what would, if true, represent a major privacy violation. The claims exist primarily on social media platforms where dramatic allegations spread regardless of their truth value. The investigation into these claims reveals as much about our current information ecosystem as it does about the specific allegations themselves. We live in an era where the traditional gatekeepers of information, editors, fact-checkers, and professional journalists have been largely bypassed by social media platforms that prioritize engagement over accuracy. The result is an environment where false claims can achieve widespread distribution and acceptance before any verification process can intervene. But don't just take it from us. Let us know what you think. Do the claims hold up, or is this just another case of internet fiction? Have we become too willing to believe dramatic allegations simply because they appear online with enough frequency and detail? What does this case tell us about the balance between public interest and private dignity in the digital age? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more fact-checked breakdowns like this, hit subscribe and stay tuned. In an era where false information can travel faster than facts, critical analysis and careful verification have never been more important.